As one year comes to a close, signaling the dawn of a new one, we naturally begin to reflect on what the last 12 months has brought us. Except that this time we're not just saying goodbye to an entire year, but an entire decade as well. The 2010s, or what will affectionately be known as the Tenties, has brought about a myriad of technological changes and developments. Gaming has gone through its fair share of changes itself, with various new game genres and platforms being created, online gaming reaching new levels of accessibility, and thanks to the incredible amount of streaming services available, watching someone else play or even just talk about video games is now one of the most popular pastimes of this generation. At the core of it all are the games themselves. Thousands upon thousands of games have been released over the last 10 years. From big budget AAA titles made by huge corporations to small time indie products created by just one person. We've seen the rise of the newest gaming stars, the fall of titans of the industries, and even a few old returning faces. Some we were happy to see, some not so much. Brand new trends taking center stage, VR gaming becoming much more common, huge communities for just about every game, platform and company out there, and, of course, everyone has an opinion on what they consider to be the best of them all. And here's my take on it. To pick just 10 games from the last 3,652 days seems like an incredibly daunting task, so I've set up a few rules to help me root out what I consider to be the very best. Rule number 1. I will only count the games that were released between January the 1st, 2010 and December 31st, 2019. This might sound a bit obvious at first, but will it surprise you to learn that Bayonetta, Assassin's Creed 2 and even Modern Warfare 2 just missed out in this time frame? It's been a long 10 years, guys. Rule number 2. Kind of a supplement to the first rule, but I will not be including any ports, remasters, remakes, remixes, reimaginings, reignitings, re-insanyings. Basically anything that counts as an old game being re-released on a different console with updated graphics and maybe an image gallery or something added in. I will however take them into consideration if their original version was released during the previously specified time frame, or if the changes made makes it fundamentally different enough from the original game.
Rule number 3!
Since this is all based on my personal experience, that means that obviously I'll only be including any games that I've actually played. This sadly means that you won't see me talking about some of the more popular games from this time period, like Skyrim. Which, having said that, just proves that you can in fact avoid joining in with certain popular trends, even if you feel that with constant re-releases on other platforms and oversaturation in the public domain to the point where you may feel like it's being shoved down your throat all the time, just know that you can in fact avoid being pulled into the madness yourself and can just as easily leave those who enjoy said madness to the things that they like.
Hurrah! Hurrah!
Also, I will need to have spent a significant amount of time playing these games for it to properly qualify, not just trying demos or playing the first hour or so. Obviously this can be amended for games that do only last for a short amount of time. Oh, and I don't necessarily have to have completed the game either for it to qualify for the list. Finally, and it should probably go without saying, but this is all just my opinion. I'm not basing this on Metacritic scores or sales figures or whether or not the game is popular or even good. I'm only judging these games based on how I feel about them. This is a completely biased list based on one guy's thoughts that you're free to agree or disagree with me on.
Everybody got that?
Oh, and spoiler alert, just to be on the safe side. So with that said and done, let's get this show on the road. For your consideration, these are my top 10 games of the decade. To be perfectly honest, I kind of already knew which games I would be putting at the top of my list, and it was actually a lot more difficult to figure out which ones would just make it into the top 10. And with so many top quality choices on offer, this one just made the cut. When it comes to fighting games, I don't really tend to play them on a competitive level. I buy them to play the main story, beat the ladder mode with each character, and that's about it. But with Smash Bros, there's just an undeniable sense of joy and satisfaction you get out of playing a game like this. Maybe it's because you can literally smack your opponent so hard that you send them flying across the screen. Maybe it's the near saves you can make if you're the one who's sent flying. Or maybe it's the pure havoc and chaos that can occur in any type of match. Smash Bros. Is a game series that can be enjoyed by just about anyone, from the casual players to the hardened experts. And the latest entry, Ultimate, proves to be just that. From the announcement that the game would feature every single character that has ever appeared in the series, there was so much excitement emanating from the fanbase. Classic fighters like Mario and Kirby, fan favourites like Marth and Meta Knight, former DLC guys like Ryu and Cloud, Echo fighters allowing Daisy and Chrom to join, and returning surprises from Roy, Pichu, and Young Link. Each one has their own distinctive playstyle, with certain characters having been tweaked to reflect their more recent games. Like Link, who's now sporting his Breath of the Wild look and has incorporated some abilities from that game into his moveset. Even the Echo fighters, while still maintaining an air of being simple clone characters, do showcase enough differences that somewhat justify making them into their own separate characters. Of course, it's not just the playable characters that help to represent Nintendo's huge library of IPs. All the stages from the past games make their return, revamped for modern consoles and given their own Omega and Battlefield modes, totaling up to over 300 different stages to battle on. Each stage also comes with a selection of memorable and iconic pieces of music from the various franchises represented. From theme songs to music levels to remixes and medleys. You could even create your own playlist and just listen to your favourites. And many other iconic characters and franchises are represented through the various weapons, assist trophies, and spirits. The adventure mode may not be the best in the series, that goes to Brawl's Emissary mode, but it's still a huge selling point. Travelling across a wonderfully detailed map with numerous challenges scattered all over, discovering secrets, unlocking more characters, and facing up against an assortment of bosses from Nintendo's past. The only downside is that it probably goes on for a bit too long, and it fakes you out with the ending not once, but twice. As I mentioned before, it was difficult for me to decide what would take the number 10 spot, and considering that I'm not a competitive Smash player, I almost left it off the list. In fact, it was two factors that just nudged it ahead of all the others. First is the hard work put in by its creator, Masahiro Sakurai. This man and his team put so much effort into creating a game as complex as this, making it fair, balanced and enjoyable by both newcomers and veterans to the series, as well as providing constant updates and brand new content at a regular rate. This is the guy who just wants to please everybody, no matter how exhausted it makes him. The other factor is the fans, who are just as passionate about the game as Sakurai and his team are. There is always eagerness and speculation about who is going to be added as a playable character next, and nothing but pure joy when that new character is revealed. Just check out this one guy's reaction when Banjo-Kazooie got announced. That is the face of someone who has just gotten everything he could ever ask for.
Oh, I'm so happy! I'm so happy! This is the best day of my life!
I think simply because a game like this can still draw out this level of excitement just by showing its logo is what ultimately led it to being on my list. Now Sakurai, if you would just make Bomberman a playable character, I may consider moving it further up. If you were to ask me what my favourite retro games console is, I'd probably say it was the Nintendo 64. Nintendo's first stretch into the 3D world and, despite rather awkward controllers, had some of the best gaming experiences for the time. GoldenEye, Mario Party, Pokemon Stadium, Banjo-Kazooie, Ocarina of Time, the much better Majora's Mask, and of course, Super Mario 64. A game so revolutionary that it has been the blueprint for almost every mainstream Mario game ever since. And while the subsequent games have been far from terrible, nothing has really captured the same magical feeling left by Mario 64. Until now. Super Mario Odyssey feels like a true sequel to Mario 64. It's a game that harkens back to the wild days of the mid-90s, where video games were going through a major transition from 2D to 3D. Other Mario titles have tried their best to give players that same kind of sensation, but water jetpacks and weird floaty gravity controls don't quite match up to the old school vibes that Odyssey provides. It keeps the same if it ain't broke don't fix it control style from previous games, but unlike say the Flood Pack from Sunshine that feels kinda tacked on and almost works against the standard controls, Mario's capabilities feel like a natural extension of that classic playstyle, with motion controls that are super fun to play with, Cappy acting as an extra platform for Mario to chain together more jumping combinations, And, of course, capturing all sorts of enemies and objects that changes up the gameplay in a bunch of hilariously fun ways. Every new world that Mario visits is so unique and amazing. From the sandy beaches of Bubba Lane to the snowy mountains of Siberia, from the cascading waters of Fossil Falls to the aquatic beauty of Lake Lamode. And let's not forget the busy streets of New Donk City, Odyssey's signature world with its ever-reaching skyscrapers, endless references and tributes to past games, and that big band number performed by Mayor Pauline herself. The worlds within the Galaxy games never really grabbed me that much, as it just felt like you were traversing a series of planetoids with the space thing acting as a thinly veiled sense of scope. In contrast, Odyssey's kingdoms are so diverse and detailed that you can find secrets tucked away in every corner of these worlds, and the game provides you with plenty of reasons to explore every square inch of them, with hundreds and hundreds of power moons to collect, as well as special world-specific coins that you can use to buy new outfits for Mario to wear, many of which also provide references to his gaming history, as well as the first in-game look at Mario's nipples. But I guess even he's not above the ideology of sex cells. Super Mario Odyssey is a game that not only manages to keep alive the sheer exuberance of 3D platformers, but also provides a connection to an era that a great number of the industry's biggest names are starting to pull away from. While there are many younger developers out there that are showing their passion for a genre that they most likely grew up on, it's nice to know that the humble Italian plumber that started it all is still here leading the charge. Not every franchise can make the jump from 2D to 3D with the same kind of success as the Italian plumber. Sonic the Hedgehog has arguably had a harder time than others while making the transition, with the consensus being that the majority of his 3D outings are absolutely terrible. While I often find myself defending a handful of these games, Sonic Unleashed is a particular favourite of mine. Yes, that includes the Werehog sections. Even I know that there are certain games that get exactly the disdain they deserve. Sonic Team's wild and imaginative ideas have resulted in the franchise becoming a mixed bag of creative innovations and unfinished messes. It would take the efforts of one loyal fan to help them realize that for the Blue Hedgehog to work at its best, he must return to his roots. Christian Whitehead is hailed by many as the savior of the Sonic franchise. Having developed a number of fan games based on the beloved Blue icon, he was hired on by Sega to help with porting some of their earlier titles onto various other devices. It was around this time that he approached Sonic Team's founder, Takashi Iizuka, with a prototype for a game he was working on called Sonic Discovery. Takashi was so impressed that he gave his blessing, and from that, Sonic Mania was born. This game just feels so right. It's the classic Sonic gameplay we know and love. It has twists and turns, loop-de-loops, and above all, it's fast. The last time a traditional Sonic game was released, the changes made to the core gameplay left a lot to be desired. This goes right back to the Sonic games of the 90s, including everything you remember about them. Classic level design that emphasizes speed above anything else, brand new levels alongside a few remixed versions of past ones, springs, pit traps, hidden areas, bonus stages, the spin dash accompanied by a new ability for Sonic, the drop dash, so it doesn't feel like you ever need to stop. The graphics are impeccable, the sprite animations are so smooth and the level design is gorgeous to look at. This is how I imagine an HD version of pixel graphics would look, bright and colourful with just a little bit of refinement here and there. Of course the soundtrack is brilliant as well, rearranged pieces of old favourites alongside new material that keeps that catchy chiptune vibe, all of which was composed by T. Lopez, who previously produced arrangements for various Sonic tracks for his YouTube channel and drew inspiration from other classic Sega titles like Sega Rally and Revenge of Shinobi. And I should also mention the wonderful animated sequences directed by Tyson Hess, who worked on multiple Sonic projects including the redesign for his big cinematic debut. This is the guy you have to thank for saving us from this monstrosity, as well as the many talented artists that worked tirelessly in order to fix this problem. Thank you very much, love you. The reason I picked this game for the list is not just because I'm a Sonic fanboy or that the game is really good. It's because it gives us something that Sonic games have been severely lacking for a long time. Passion. It's clear to me that every single person who worked on this game not only has a love for this franchise, but for truly great gaming experiences. It's why the game is called Sonic Mania, because the team had such a maniacal love for the series. Hell, they even brought back long-forgotten characters as DLC, and Hess even directed a few short animations for YouTube to help promotion. Everything about this game emulates a joy that hasn't been felt since the era of glass processing. It is a Sonic game made by the fans, for the fans. While Sonic Team seems determined to take the Blue Blur in all sorts of new directions, people like Christian Whitehead, T. Lopez, and Tyson Hess are there to make sure that this gaming icon keeps rolling around at the speed of sound. I couldn't resist. Doom is just fun. Simple, pure, cathartic fun. One man facing off against hordes of demons armed with a massive amount of guns and an unbridled desire to rip and tear through them all. It is the core principle nature that the series has held on to throughout every single one of its games. Even Doom 3, the one where they forgot to pay their electricity bills. So many games nowadays offer an overabundance of things for the player to do. Vast open worlds to explore, hundreds of side quests to complete, endless pages of lore and backstory to scroll through. Doom simply hands you a massive gun, opens the gates of hell, kicks you in and says, have fun. It really is one of those games where you don't need a reason to go out and kick some ass. Why are you killing these demons? What ultimate goal are you trying to accomplish? How did you even get there in the first place? While there are answers to these questions, it really doesn't matter, as the game literally shoves the plot out of the way and says, look, all you need to know is that you have to go here and kill anything and everything that stands in your way. And it is so satisfying to do. Curb stomping a demon's head into the ground, beating a zombie to death with his own leg, slicing a Hell Knight in half with a chainsaw, punching a Kako demon straight through his eye, ripping the heart out of a mancubus before shoving it down its throat and then stepping back to watch it explode. Or you can mow them all down with a wide variety of weapons to choose from, including shotguns, chain guns, rocket launchers, plasma rifles, and of course, no Doom game would be complete without its signature weapon, the big f***ing gun. The rush of adrenaline you get from playing for only 5 minutes is an incredible feeling. It's like being on a roller coaster fueled by aggression. While other games provide you with puzzles that challenge your intelligence, thrills that get your pulse racing, tales that tug at your heartstring, or relaxing activities that just chill you out, Doom is there for when you just want to feel like an absolute badass, and provides it for you in the most satisfying way possible. The evolution of technology not only allows us the ability to communicate with each other, but also gives us new ways in which to express ourselves and entertain each other. Big budget movies and TV shows with high production values are now competing with online personalities armed with a camera, microphone, and a lot of free time on their hands. Likewise, the large gaming companies of the world that constantly churn out AAA titles are now having to deal with smaller independent developers who spend years crafting amazingly wonderful games fueled only by their passion. It's why games like Sonic Mania exist, because people like Christian Whitehead, who grew up playing these types of games, became inspired to create their own. We even have the tools so readily available to us nowadays that anyone can sit down and create the next biggest gaming craze, no matter how ridiculous the concept sounds. We don't even need to be part of a larger company with dozens of employees. Just one person on their own can create every single aspect of a game to be enjoyed by millions of people around the world. And that game can be so good that it can even turn someone onto a genre that they'd never considered before. I've never really been into these slice-of-life, resource-gathering, simulation-type games. They've always felt rather slow-paced with not much to do. and a lack of any real endgame goals can sometimes be a bit of a turn-off. However, when I saw Stardew Valley and watched a few videos of someone playing it, I have to say that I was intrigued. Inspired by the Harvest Moon series, you're tasked with building up a farm left to you by your grandfather. This will see you clearing out weeds, trees and boulders before planting crops, raising livestock and expanding your farm in general. Just over the way is the rest of the town, where you'll not only be able to buy more items for your farm, but you'll also find a colourful cast of characters that you can converse with and develop relationships. At first, the daunting prospect of running your own farm doesn't seem inviting, but once you started removing some of the overgrowth and begin planting and watering your first batch of seeds, you begin to feel yourself being enveloped with an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. And that's the biggest draw of this game, giving you that warm sense of accomplishment. From watching your plants grow, feeding your animals and expanding your farm, to exploring the world around you, mining in the nearby caves, chatting with the local townsfolk, and even finding true love and getting married. The game offers you a wide variety of options and things to do, all of which you can do in any order and whenever you feel like it. Some days you might feel like buying new crops for your farm, other days you might want to go fighting monsters and discover deeper parts of the caves. Maybe today's the day you'll spend more time getting to know your neighbours, or head on down to the beach and finally catch that fish that you need to complete your recipe. But always, always make time to say hi to your pet. The visuals are so eye-catchingly pleasing. The bright warm colour palette makes the entire world pop out at you. From the changing seasons to the dimly lit caverns, even when it's raining and the colours become slightly muted, it's still so visually appealing. The music is absolutely beautiful. The whimsical calm of a spring morning, the jaunty upbeat rhythms of the festivals, the harmonious melodies of an evening on the pier, the mysterious chimes of the deep caverns. It all helps to bring together a sensation of peace and relaxation. But perhaps the most incredible quality that this game possesses ties back into something I said a few minutes ago. Every single aspect of this game was created by just one person, Eric Barone. Sure, the game was published by Chucklefish Limited, but Barone was the sole developer and spent 4 years working on the game. The programming, the functionality, the pixel art, the music, all the hard work of just one individual who had a passion for these types of games. Of course, he's not the first person to create a video game all by himself. That's a practice that goes all the way back to the 70s. But to think that from one person's drive and ambition to improve his career prospects and to fix the issues he saw in one of his favourite series, he ended up creating something that became a worldwide sensation. If anything else, this game easily makes it onto the list simply because it's one of the many games from this decade that proves that with enough dedication, initiative, and enthusiasm, there's no telling what any one of us might accomplish.